Welcome along to London Calling. This evening we're going to be looking ahead to Sunday's game at Old Trafford against Manchester United. We've also got an exclusive interview with our striker Charlie Austin after he got off the mark, of course, here at Loftus Road against Sunderland. On top of that, we've got a competition to win a signed shirt. We've got the latest odds from Bet Victor, and we're also joined live in the studio by this man.
Gallen near post, receives it. He's going to flick it over his shoulder. He's got Ainsworth making a run towards the byline. Here comes Ainsworth. Crossfield ball. It's just bobbled into the path of Gallen. And it's been scored by Qpr'S Rangers. And Kevin Gallen, who said earlier this week he wants to score the goal that sends them up 10 minutes before half-time, has given them the chance. Gallen from 6 yards, his 17th of the season. The fans are in 7th heaven.
Kevin Gallen will be speaking with us over the course of the next hour, reminiscing about his 2 times with the club and also looking back on that memorable day at Wembley and ahead, of course, to the coming season. You're watching London Calling, brought to you in association with Equate.
Equate is a natural energy drink containing only natural ingredients: fruit juices, ginseng, guarana, green tea.
OK, before we speak with Kevin and with Brian, just a couple of competitions we've got. Firstly, what we want to know, who does Kevin Gallen believe was the most underrated QPR player during his time at Loftus Road? So the question is, who does Kevin Gallen believe was the most underrated QPR player during his time at Loftus Road? Tweet us using hashtag LCI. Not as easy as they normally are, and I can let you into a little secret that Kevin doesn't actually know the answer to that yet. He's still pondering it. So tweet us using hashtag LCI, and maybe your suggestions will rack his brain a bit and give him an answer as well. And topic of debate for this week, what would be your formation and starting 11 for Sunday's game at Man United? A few selection dilemmas there for Harry Redknapp. What would be your formation and your starting 11 for Sunday's game at Man United? Again, tweet us using hashtag LCI. Good evening, Brian, and good evening, Kevin. Thanks very much for joining us. Are you happy with the season so far?
Yeah, it's gone okay. We're above Man United, so it can't be bad, can it?
Yeah. Well, we're going to it favourites.
Yeah.
Far from it. In fact, we are the least likely team to win across all the teams this weekend in the Premier League, if you believe the betting odds, and they don't often get it wrong. It is going to be a tough afternoon for QPR at Old Trafford. But getting that first win, Kevin, how important is that? Because obviously, after the 2 defeats, the manner of the defeat at White Hart Lane, obviously there's some concerns there. So important to get that first win.
Yeah, as soon as the season starts and, you lost at home to Hull, which was a bit unfortunate because you could have nicked, a draw, and if Charlie had scored that penalty, you never know, you could have go on and win that game. Tottenham game was a bit of a disaster, as the scoreline suggests. But then, back home, you need to start picking up points at home, and Sunderland are a decent team, and I thought it was an excellent win. And you've got to get off the mark as quickly as possible, because you don't want that drag in where you're on 0 points for any time possible. So get the 3 points as quick as possible, and then move on to the next game. And especially with the international break, if we hadn't got some sort of result, it sort of lingers on, and you can't rectify it for another 2 weeks.
And you look back a couple of years ago when we did get relegated, it was the 19th game before we recorded that first win in the Premier League. And while we were all fairly confident it wouldn't go to 19 games, I remember before the Sunderland press conference, a journalist even said to Harry, are you going to get this first win before you did last time? And this was after 2, which was pretty crazy. And Harry laughed it off and said, I'm fairly confident. But it was almost at the back of everyone's minds because of what had happened the last time we were in the Premier League. Let's get this win out of the way so we get that monkey off our backs.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely would never have suggested that it would take 19 games, and even looking back those couple of years ago, it's just a poor record not to win until the 90th game. And I remember watching it. I was actually watching it in New York. I went on there for the weekend. I walked past the pub, Irish pub, and I see QPR, and I went straight in and watched the second half. And that was like in the middle of December. So to go that distance is not only is it heartbreaking for the fans, but if you're the team and you're in that dressing room and you're out on that pitch, you just think that win will never come. So get it done, get 3 points as quickly as possible, which we have done. And I think the team's good enough. We've got good enough players that would never have happened this season. Which it hasn't.
An Irish pub with QPR on. There was no way you were walking past that pub.
I sent the missus down to Macy's and said, "Carry on."
Yeah. Actually, I was happy that we've gone 3 games. We've got our 3 points. It's a shame that we went into the international break with the momentum. Against Hull, against Sunderland, I'd say forget the Spurs game. It was a bad day at the office, but the two performances, Hull and Sunderland, were solid performances. And I would have liked us to have gone into a game the week after. I think the international break, for us, I think it's sort of break continuity.
Deadline day signings, Sandro and Nico Cranchar, your thoughts on those?
Well, I don't know much about Sandro, but I speak to a few Spurs fans and they really rated him. If you can keep him fit, he's a strongly built midfield player. I think he's a good signing. Nico Cranchar, I thought at the end of last season, especially the home game against Wigan, when he played the home leg, I thought he was excellent. He actually moved back into midfield, and him and Joey Barton had a great second half that day, and it's just a pity that he got injured, but he looks to come back, lost a bit of weight, he looks fitter, he's got undoubted quality. He's for set pieces as well. If Joey's having a bad day on the set pieces or not playing, he can take free kicks and corners. I think he's a very good signing. And
you happy with those, Brian?
Absolutely. Again, with Sandro, don't know that too much about it, but a lot of the Spurs fans, they're very upset that he's actually left and come to us.
Which is normally a fairly good indicator as well when the fans that are losing him are moaning about it.
Absolutely correct. And Nico, well, I think it's just great to have him back, and he's such a quality, he's a mature professional and the sort of player you want out there. If things are going a little against you, he's the sort of player that can sort of calm things down, and as Kevin was saying, he's good with free kicks, he can shore up the midfield, and just the sort of player, I think probably one of our best signings.
And Kevin, two good characters in the dressing room. I think most QPR fans are bored of hearing the term the right sort, but in terms of the characters, from your perspective as a player, how important was that when new signings came in that they were of the right sort, the right ilk?
Well, been in changing rooms before and for like 18 to 20 years, when new signings come in, you want them to be blend in straight away as soon as possible, and you want them to be, not the right, you can say the right sort, but you want to get on with them, and you want to know when they're out there training, they're out there giving it 100%, and then and you can rely on them. And team spirit can get teams a long way, and we just mentioned it before about last season, how, Burnley got promoted on basically a really good team spirit and two good strikers. So I'm not saying that that's the case, but team spirit can get you a long way out. You looked at the World Cup, I see the team spirit of Chile was just, was amazing. They're running for each other, they're trying, and when they did lose to Brazil, they were heartbroken, and you can just see that they were very close knit, and it can get you a long way. And all the best teams are built on good team spirit, and that doesn't mean you have to go socialising with each other, but you've got to have the team spirit on the pitch, and that comes from training and everyone, putting a shift in and 100% in throughout the whole week.
Do people underestimate its importance? Because aside from
I don't think so, and they shouldn't do, because it can. You look at Clint Hill. You can tell. Like, if I was playing for QPR now, I would always look back at Clint Hill. He's got the right attitude, and you'd be thinking he's going to do the right things, and he's going to encourage or tell you off at the right times and stuff like that. And that's another part of team spirit where you tell someone off on the pitch and they take it the right way. Now, if a new signing comes in and you tell him what you're doing, you've got to work harder. You've lost the ball, you're not chasing back. And he doesn't do it, and he just, for whatever, flicks us. Then you're off, giving it, hold on, why we signed this bloke? You're saying to the manager, well, this bloke ain't the right sort, or the right mentality for this team. So it's easy to suss out the bad ones pretty quickly.
And Clint would probably square it if it was on his right foot.
Most definitely.
Brian, now from your point of view, Man United next up, I suppose. These are the games that we wanted to get promoted for. United away. Right time to play them or the wrong time to play them?
I said on my Twitter feed that, this week it's this week or no week. I think Man United are going to, obviously, we talk about this bonding with teams and players bonding with each other. Fortunately, with us, obviously our signings, the only one that really needs to bond, the one that needs to bond is Sandro and Eduardo Vargas. So they're the two that still need to bond. The other signings that we've had, Nico, he's played with the team, so he understands, he knows the club. The other players have already played a couple of games, granted against Spurs, but again against Sunderland and a victory. So I'm hoping that we've blended together nicely. Man United's got some new signings and good signings as well, and I'm just hoping only a couple of the signings have actually played. The others have yet to play a competitive game. So I feel that this Saturday we've still got the opportunity to take advantage of a sort of an unsettled Manchester. I'm hoping that we're able to take advantage of an unsettled Man United team. But I think after this Sunday, I think Man United are going to get stronger each week.
The nucleus of the squad, Matty Phillips was saying last week, from last season, is still very much in evidence, and you only have to look at the starting. Well, I suppose you look at the 18 that played against Sunderland a couple of weeks ago. Of the 18, I think all the subs were at the club last season. You've got the stat there. You look at the players in red. So you got Rob Green, Clinton Hill, Hoilett, Phillips, Barton, Austin, and all of the substitutes. I suppose apart from Trabb, who was out on loan, were at the club last season. I suppose that's pretty important as well, and perhaps that's where the club made a mistake a couple of years ago. It was almost, let's build a completely new squad, whereas this is, let's add to the squad that got us here.
Yeah, definitely, because if you've done all the hard work the season before and you get the team promoted, you sort of, in your mind, you expect a chance, and you know that because of the money situation and the higher the league and you need better players, the club's going to bring in some new players. But you do sort of expect, hold on a minute, I've got QPR promoted. I should be given a chance to see how I can perform in the Premier League. And, you know, looking at those stats there, I know that there's like half and half in the first 11, but all of the subs except for Tarapt were all there. So, you know, they've got an opportunity. But also, going back to the team spirit, it's difficult when you're the manager and if you just bring in like a whole new team and then the lads that have got you promoted, you're not going to be happy. Happy people. You
look at the squad that got us promoted when you helped get us promoted, and we had the day at Sheffield Wednesday. The following season, it was that nucleus was still there. The likes of yourself, Roland, Ainsworth Cook came involved after. But it was the same nucleus, and it was an incredible start that following season. It did seem to just carry on.
Well, yeah, because you get a bit of momentum. And we actually didn't start the season off. I think it was 2 or 3 games or 4 games we didn't. But then it sort of clicked, and we won 7 on the spin, which was like, even we couldn't believe it.
Bonuses were crazy.
Bonuses were going mental. It was like celebrating, high five, hey, bonus. They shouldn't have agreed for that. Not about getting in the top. They should never agreed with that one. They underestimated us, which I think they did. Because we sort of agreed a bonus. I'm going to say, but you know, if you were in the top 2, you'd get a certain amount of money for winning. And they probably thought, well, we're not going to be in the top 2.
So have what you like.
And then when me and Gareth went and done the bonuses, we came back and they agreed to everything we said, and we walked down the stairs again. We could have went further. We could have went. That was too easy, wasn't it? Thought, oh, we missed it. We missed a trick there, but no, we did a bit of momentum, and like you said, I think we added Lee Cook came in that summer after we got promoted, who'd already been on loan before and was a good lad, another lad who sort of knew the team, and all the players loved him and the fans loved him, so it was just sort of like an old player coming back, and we welcomed him, and he came back a better player than when he was before. But yeah, definitely you have to have a bit of continuation from the team from the season before, because you know they know what the club's about, and they've been through the experiences of getting promoted or losing, and the experience of the crowd and all those sort of things. There might be like minor details, but you know, in the end, there could be a difference between winning the game or losing or drawing. So, you know, it's important.
I would also, but you know, people seem to think when you come up from League One and go into the Championship, it's not such a bigger differential between the levels. But people think that if you get promoted from the Championship to the Premier League, a lot of teams think you've got to have a total clear out and start from scratch.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. But if you looked at our team from last season, we sort of had a Premiership team.
Well, we did, and also a lot of teams, a lot of players that play their hearts out to get these teams promoted. You know, in a way, they're doing themselves a hardship, because that team gets promoted, and a lot of these players will all stay in the Championship, and they don't follow through as a reward.
Yeah, definitely.
You look at the competition that we've got currently running here at London Calling to win a signed shirt from Kevin Gallen. The question is, who does Kevin Gallen believe was the most underrated QPR player during his time at Loftus Road? You can tweet us using hashtag LCI, and David Bardsley is certainly right up there. There's plenty of David Bardsley guesses. Gary Harding's gone for that. Stephen Cockrell's gone for Gino Padula. Danny Maddox says John Sharp. Clark Carlisle says Ben Barber, and Ben Barber's also gone for Marcus Bignett. Geir Schonberg, David Bardsley. Jake Spencer, David Bardsley. Steve Apex, David Bardsley. We're just waiting for David Bardsley to get in touch and say David Bardsley, but he's certainly up there.
But David Bardsley was very rated.
He was highly rated.
He played for England, so
yeah, so that brings
David
him out.
Bardsley rules it out of me because he's not underrated. He's very rated for me.
And I would suggest if if he's ruled out, in your opinion, it's highly unlikely it's going to be David Bardsley. So change your guesses.
It's not David Bardsley.
It's not David Bardsley because he was well rated.
Not underrated. He was very rated by me and by everybody.
I think, and the fans as well.
The fans rated him because he was actually a top player.
Yeah.
Let's not forget about that.
You talk about the importance of defences as well, and that was a setback for really, wasn't it? With Bardsley, Wilson, Alan McDonald, Darren Peacock at the back. That was just
and then if one of them was injured, Danny Maddox was a regular, and Steve Yates. It was good, a settled back four. The two fullbacks were excellent. So like I said, they weren't underrated. Bards played for England. Clive Wilson didn't play for England, but he probably at that time was it was Stuart Pearce and it was Tony Zariga, and then Clive. Around that, he was up there with them.
Yeah.
Very, very. He was a midfielder, but very, very comfortable on the ball. Clive Wilson, excellent player. Very underrated. That's not a clue.
And I suppose that's it's going to be interesting to see what Harry Redknapp does with the QPR defence. He obviously has gone with three at the back for a couple of games. He switched it for Sunderland, and it was effective in that we won the game. Gone with four at the back, Colker and Rio. Isra at right back, Clinton Hill at left back. We understand Yoon Suk Yeong is pushing hard for a starting place as well. So I suppose he's got to get that settled. Back four, back three, whatever he goes with.
It's important, and it's also important with the goalkeeper, where they get a good understanding with the back four or three, or what the manager decides to go with. But you need there's a lot of chopping and changing in the Premier League, and I don't really understand it. I think if you sort of got your best 11, and I know people come out of form and there's injuries or suspensions, but I'm sure the manager in his mind has got a set 11 who if everyone was fit, that he'd play, but then obviously loss of form. So I think you do need to have a settled back four, especially with the keeper and the understanding, because Rio and Corker have only been at the club a few months, and Rob Green probably don't really know their game, or they know his game inside out. So the more they play, the better understanding they'll become. And the best example of it was when Arsenal had their back four, which went on for years. But the back four that we had, QPR with Macca, was like a constant all the time, and then it was pretty much Macca, Clive on the left, Bards on the right, and whoever was fit or was on form at the time, it was Darren Peacock, and then it was Danny Maddox, and they all were excellent players. So it was pretty much 3 out of 4 every week, unless there was injuries,
which obviously can't avoid. But again, you get this continuity and this understanding, and
sort of just when you're a player and you're playing up front, and that you've got that solid back four.
Well, it gets you concentrating on your game.
It gets you concentrating. It breeds confidence as well.
Does it take the pressure off you because you think?
It can put the pressure on because you're thinking, well, they're going to keep a clean sheet now. We've got to score. So just one of them. We've got to now.
Yeah, we've got to do our bit.
We've got to do our bit because I'm pretty confident that they're going to do their job.
Yeah.
And they're probably thinking, well, they better score because we're going to do it. And that's how teams go and team spirit. Because if you're not doing your job at half time, they'll be saying, "Come on," because they're watching you up front. And come on, move about, do so, hold it, and you get told, in the right way and everything. And then, okay, yeah, you're right. I made a mistake there. You don't argue about it unless it's like blatantly lies.
And I'm sure Alan McDonald would have been telling you at half time.
Yeah, we was having a fag in the we were discussing tactics in the toilets.
Well, light it up.
Yeah.
And I suppose that there's the mental challenge of winning promotion as well, in that you're used to winning most weeks to, by and large, you're not going to be.
I remember coming here last season, the first game against Sheffield Wednesday, and we won
2-1. We went 1-0 down.
1-0 down. It was 2-1. We were like, because sometimes the hangover of getting relegated can go on to the next season, which is happening at Fulham.
Yeah.
We won 2-1, and everyone came out of this ground buzzing, delighted. And you're like, because the season before was coming out, disillusioned, gutted, we've lost again in the Premiership. So now you've got to be mentally strong, because it's going to be this season, or until everything clicks into place, you're going to lose a few games and then you'll win. But, as long as this season we stay up and we can turn over Chelsea a couple of times, everyone's really happy, aren't they? And maybe have a cup run, get back to Wembley or something.
Yeah, that would be unique.
The main thing the money being spent, and we're talking about Man United, we're above them, and they've spent 150 something ridiculous.
Yeah, 150 million in this window on 6 players.
The pressure's on them.
And one of them's a lone player.
The pressure's on them on Sunday.
Yeah,
because they've got to win, and they're live on the TV again against us, and they'll be thinking, their fans thinking, we've got to beat QPR. So that's a bit of pressure. Sometimes not going out not to lose is a little bit easier than not going out. You've got to win. So if
you were in that QPR dressing room just before they go out at Old Trafford on Sunday, what sort of thing would you be saying to the players? What would your approach be?
Frustrate, try and get the crowd on their backs. It's always been the one. Let's frustrate them. First 20 minutes, frustrate them. Maybe soak up a bit of pressure. No gaps, concentration. Don't give them any chances. And then once you get the chance to keep the ball and obviously try and score is the best thing is to go and score. But just try and frustrate.
The first 20,
25, just try and just go in at least. Don't be losing at half time. Then the pressure's on a bit.
But you feel that Man United may try and put the pressure on right from the off, though. They're going to be piling in, aren't they?
But I just feel with the way they're playing at the back, with the three at the back, I don't think they've got the players as yet to play that system. And I've watched them a couple of times this season, and they don't look comfortable. They're defenders, because once you've been playing in a 4 throughout your whole career, and then a new bloke comes in and we're playing 3, they're all thinking, hold on, I don't know where I am. I see Phil Jones was playing against Burnley, he's playing in the centre, and Johnny Evans was playing on the right. And Johnny Evans, I'm thinking, well, he should be playing in the centre because he's left-footed, and Phil Jones should be playing on the right. And he doesn't look comfortable.
Not that we had much choice in this, but do you think this is the right weekend for us to be playing them?
Probably the weekend before.
Well, yeah, but we could help that.
It's going to be tough because it's Man United and you don't know. I'm just hoping that they stick with their 3 at the back, and I'm sure we'll get us some chances. If we get the chances, we just got to take them, and you can take them at the right times, and there's an upset definitely on the cards. But tough. They've got some top players with, they just signed Falcao. Whether he'll start, he'll be coming on at some stage, won't he? And Percy's still really...
Well, he's a goal scorer though, isn't he, Falcao? 11 goals in 20 games.
He's just... I see him a couple of years ago when he destroyed Chelsea, and that he looked like, what a player this geezer is. So, I know he's been injured, but, we've got to defend well, and... with Rio going back to his old club, I'm sure he'll be extra determined to put on a show and say, hold on, you should have kept me.
Yeah, we'll be talking about the Huddersfield game later on in the show. But you look at the approach to the game as well. From our point of view, you say that it's important to be taking your chances. And Charlie Austin did that against Sunderland.
Yeah.
It was very important for him, wasn't it, personally?
Yeah. As a striker, you don't want to be going... Like we talked about winning the game in December, you don't want to be not scoring because you're playing your mind. All you then think about is I need to score. People don't rate me. I'm in the Premiership. I've stepped up. I can't do it. That'd be all. I'm not saying it, but that's what I would be going through my mind. I'm playing in that. I can't do it. I can't score. It was easy in the Championship. I could score every week, but now, so he's got off the mark. I know he missed the penalty. I'm sure that's gone through his mind a few times. I should have maybe done this. That's what happens when you miss. I've missed a few penalties before.
I've seen a few. Yeah.
And you're like thinking, why did I do that? Why did I do that? But you make a decision at the split time, and then if it don't work, it don't work. But to score, especially to score at home, it's great for him. He missed the game at Tottenham. He scored right before half time. Great time to score. Because it settles everyone down, everyone goes in half time. Come on, we've got something now to hold on to. So for him personally, and for the team for him to score and QPR to get the first 3 points, perfect day for QPR, really.
As a fellow striker, how do you rate Charlie Austin?
I think he's good. I think he's a very good player. I think he's very good in the box. I've said it a few times. I think he needs balls, crosses coming into the box because he's excellent at reading the flight of the ball. And he's good in the air, and he's strong in the air. I think it's difficult for him when he plays that lone striker's role, and it's difficult for anyone because basically you've got to take care of 2 centre-halves on your own, and when the ball goes up, you've got to get hold of it, and there's 2 centre-halves coming bashing into you, you've got to get hold of it and keep the ball playing so we can get some possession. It's difficult. And then you get judged on your goals, and I played up front on my own for a few years, and I didn't particularly like it. I always liked playing up front with a partner, because I always sort of ended up me setting up for other people to score, and I'd be doing all the work, and then I wouldn't score, and I didn't like that, and it was hard work, and sometimes you don't get your rewards, and you don't sort of get in the box. But
even though you might be playing well, you as a striker, you probably judge yourself on scoring goals. If you weren't scoring, you were leaving the pitch after disappointed.
You're not scoring, then fans are get him off. But you end up honestly, you play one up front and you end up sort of getting the ball come up to you, holding it, and then you'd lay it back, and then the midfielder would pass it, and then the two wide men come in, and then they're on goal. So it's difficult to get, and then you've got to run and get in the box, and it's hard work. So he's good. He's done well. He's done well because he's well, especially last season, he got his fair share of goals. Yeah. And at the start of the season, you thought maybe we were going to play up two. When Remy was there, he was going to play a two, and that's when the 3-5-2 system, the three at the back system, comes in handy because you get to play two strikers. And a lot of the Premiership now is like a 4-3-3, where it's just a 1 and 2 sort of wide strikers. They're not wingers; they're wide strikers. So he's done well because he scored a number of goals last season. And I spoke to him the other week about it, and he said he didn't mind if he played up front in a 2 or on his own. But then he'd probably just think, as long as I'm scoring, I don't care.
Yeah. Well, of course, as long as the delivery's right, he'll score. You can see that.
So I think he thrives on crosses.
Yes,
that's his strongest part of his game. If you get the ball in the box, he's got good movement, and he's always there and about. So he'd be hoping that the manager puts wingers in the team who can, get crosses in front.
OK, well, he's certainly settled into life in the Premier League, an incredible rise. 5 years ago, he's playing non-league football for Poole Town. This Sunday, he's looking ahead to Manchester United at Old Trafford. We caught up with him earlier this week to reflect on his time so far at Loftus Road.
Charlie, first place to start. You must be relishing the trip to Old Trafford this weekend.
Yeah, it's like any dream to play at Old Trafford. To do it in the Premier League is going to be special for me. But we'll go there, all guns blazing.
When QPR got promoted in May on that wonderful day at Wembley, and then the fixtures were released, I think about 3 or 4 weeks after, was it trips to Old Trafford, trips to Emirates, stadiums like that got the pulses racing?
Yeah, I think they was certainly the ones that you just keep your eyes out for. Definitely when you know the dates. I've got a lot of Man United fans as friends, so there'll be a few going. I'm just looking forward to going there and getting out there.
I think we've just discussed it. Nobody really knows what team Harry's going to pick, but even more so what team Louis van Gaal's going to pick. They've made a number of changes over the summer, especially on deadline day, with the arrival of Falcao and Blind, etc. Does that give QPR an advantage, especially when you take into account that a lot of those new signings would have been on international duty this week?
Yeah, it gives them a touch advantage. But they've not all worked together, trained together. But when you go to play against any Man United team, especially at Old Trafford, it's going to be tough. So for us, we just go there with a job to do. We've got a bit between our teeth because we've got 3 points against Sunderland, which gives us a bit of a boost going into the game at Old Trafford.
How will our experience, the likes of Rio Ferdinand, obviously returning to Old Trafford, Joey Barton, Rob Green, Richard Dunn, etc., how will their experience help when you are going to the Theatre of Dreams Super Sunday, being streamed around the world to millions?
Yeah, of course they are. They're going to help you all the way through the season for the younger players and the lads that have not been there. Definitely whoever we play against and these big teams we're going to, they're always going to put us in good stead. And you need the experience in the team. And like I say, with them, the lads in there, Rio, Joey, Dunny, Greeny, they are going to help us.
Radamel Falcao, you're a striker. He seems to be the name on everybody's lips in a minute. Di Maria was the week before. But Falcao, when a lot of people thought he was either going to Madrid or City, he's ended up at Old Trafford. I guess as a fellow number 9, you've got nothing but admiration for what he brings to the table as a striker.
No, you look at his goal record, I think it's like 140 and 180 odd games. Scored his first men's pro goal when he was like 14. It just shows what he's got, and whatever club he's gone to, he's just scored goals constantly, and I'm going to be looking forward to seeing what he's got from the other end of the pitch.
Obviously, Rio returns to Old Trafford, and him, probably Stephen Corker, depending on what formation Harry goes with, they're the kind of guys that are going to be trusted with keeping him, Wayne Rooney, Robin Van Persie, the list goes on, Mata. You could be here all day. It's a big challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, you look at the team they've got and the players they've got, but you need them to gel together. But we've got a good team spirit and good bonding at the moment, and hopefully we can take that onto the pitch at Old Trafford Sunday, and we'll be working hard for sure.
It's been a mixed start for you to Premier League life with the missed penalty, then the injury that kept you out of the disappointing defeat at Spurs, but you bounced back in terrific style against Sunderland last time out here. How do you feel you've acclimatised and adjusted to Premier League life?
Yeah, like you say, after that first one at Hull, missing the penalty, I thought I had a good performance, and to score the goal would have capped it off, and I'd have been good debut. But unfortunately, I missed the penalty and I forgot about the performance. I say I was injured, so I couldn't play against Tottenham. But then when I got out there against Sunderland, I was happy with my performance again, and to get the goal, capped it off, I was over the moon, and hopefully that's the monkey off my back, as they say, and I can push on for the rest of the season to score more goals.
And nobody's really talked about it, but your movement for that goal, as Matt Letizia has just told me, was a sign of a good striker. Reading the knockdown from, I think it was Stephen Corker, reading his knockdown.
Leroy Fer.
Was it Leroy Fer? My mistake. But reading that knockdown, adjusting your body and then slapping it in the roof of the net with your left foot.
But I didn't think about that at the time, but it was just, when that happens, it's just something that I've...
Is that striker's instinct?
Yeah, I think so. That comes out. It's something that I've developed over the year or had inside. It just, when the ball come across, I just try to get myself in the best position possible for me to score a goal, and that was just to drop off a couple of yards and create the space for me, and lucky enough it went in the roof of the net, and more importantly we got the 3 points for the whole club.
And what will that 3 points do heading into the game at Old Trafford? Because it's been a long break. I know it's only 2 weeks, but it seems longer than that at this stage of the season. Confidence must be high in the camp, I'm sure.
Yeah, confidence is high. Go to Old Trafford, and it's a good time to play Man United, if anything. Lads that they've brought in have all been on international duty. Like I say, they've not had the chance to train together where we have, and we can go there off the back of the win against Sunderland on high spirits. Sandro
and Nico Cranchar joined the squad on deadline day, taking our summer signings to 10 in total. Obviously, Jack Robinson spending time this season on loan town, but some good additions to the squad over the summer, and I'm sure, like you are, there seems to be a confidence amongst the supporters that QPR in the Premier League to stay, and we can establish ourselves this year and going forward.
It shows the quality that we've got and the backing we've got from the chairman to bring them in. You see the quality that Nico had last year, and definitely what I've seen in training so far, he hasn't lost that, and he's definitely added to his game. We all know about Sandro. We've all seen him play in the Premier League for the last 4 or 5 years for Spurs, and what an addition he's going to be for us, and what he showed in training. He's definitely someone you'd like on your team anyway.
72 hours or so until the trip to Old Trafford. When you hear Charlie Austin, Premier League footballer, Premier League goal scorer now, do you still have to pinch yourself to
it's got a good ring to it. Got a good ring to it. I always want to keep that. No one's going to take that away from me now. But like I say, it's a dream that when you're a kid to play in the Premier League, and that's something that I'm delighted to do, and it's going to be another box tick going to Old Trafford, and hopefully I can get the goal and put in a good performance to help QPR and get a decent result there.
Just very finally, you mentioned about boxes being ticked. I know that one box that is still to be ticked would be an England call-up. You watched England in the week, an impressive performance. Is that something you harbour aspirations for, to knock on the door this year?
Maybe that's there in the future, but at the moment I know that I need to work. Got a lot of work to do for myself. I'll work hard for QPR, put in good performances like I have done so far this season. Score more goals and help us stay in the Premier League, and then who knows what could happen in the future.
Charlie Austin there speaking earlier this week. 20 and 38 goals in the Championship, 60 and 116 in League One. Are you confident that he can transfer that? So far he's 1 and 2 in the Premier League.
Yeah, if he keeps that going, that'll be a great season for him. Look, it depends, fitness, form, chances. Because if you don't get the striker, you've always got a nice bailout.
no service.
Manager, no service. What can you do? Not getting anything. So you've always got that one when you're a striker. If he gets the service, he'll score. So it does depend on the team. There might be an odd time where you create, you can score a goal out of nothing and outside the box and just whack it and it goes in for 20, 25 yards. But you as a striker, and a striker like of Charlie Austin, he does need to rely on some sort of service. So, I'm confident if he gets the right service, he'll score.
Chance creation has been quite good, Tottenham game accepted so far in the Premier League. Against Hull, we created 19 chances, more than any other Premier League team that weekend. It does seem, at early stages, that we do seem more prepared for the Premier League than perhaps we did the previous 2 occasions we were in it.
I agree. Yeah.
Well, looking back at the whole game, we did. We had a lot of shots on goal, but was there? I think Remy had I thought it was a decent chance when he hit it straight at the keeper and he palmed it when he should have went hard. When he should have hit hard and low. They're good. Having a shot from 30 yards and it hits the target is not really a chance. You know, you need clear-cut chances, and in that game, the two main clear-cut chances were the penalty and, the Loic Remy. And also in the first half, there was opportunities.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Much had a header.
Yeah, so you've got opportunities and clear-cut chances is a different thing. So create enough opportunities, you'll score goals. No one scores from every chance. Not even the best strikers in the world. I think, when Ruud van Nistelrooy, there was stat was when he was firing like goals for fun for Man United, he used to score from one in every 3 shots on goal for him. So you might need 6, but then on a good day you might only need 3, and he scores 3. Yeah. So that's sort of the ratio that a striker needs. And I used to play, and it's like if I came off and I missed a few chances, I'd be gutted. But if I came off and didn't have any chances, I'd even be more gutted. Because at least you can like go back and say, well, I should have done this, I should have done that. When you're not getting any chances, then you've got to worry.
Yeah, more concerned about the general game.
But of course, you want to convert those chances. You say you had 19 chances.
But you're saying 19 chances, but there weren't 9. Let's be honest, there weren't 19 sitters out there, was there?
So, no. You had to create them, and it wasn't just.
So what I'm saying is, don't. If I was a striker, I wouldn't be happy with them. It was my fault. No, so we'll create chances. So we've got good players going forward. So there will be chances created, and then you've got to take them.
The playoff campaign, did it bring back memories for you of your playoff campaign?
No, because we won. We didn't lose this year. No, that was looking back at that day at Wembley was actually the most fun and best football match I've ever been to, other than playing. That's how good it was. And even though for the 89 minutes it was not very good, but that last minute and then afterwards was just. I'm just watching it going again. I mean, I was with my 2 brothers and my wife and my 2 kids, and my daughter was. They've only been to a game before here at QPR, and she was just looking at me. What are you doing? Because we were just jumping up and down for 5 minutes. She's like, "Daddy, you're gone, man. You're gone mad." So yeah, she didn't sort of understand, but. They had a great time, and my mum and dad were there, and it was just great ending to it.
It was a fantastic ending.
The best ending ever. There ain't a better way to get promoted than
dying seconds goal.
Dying seconds and playing poorly. Do you know what I mean? With 10 men, when it's like basically we're just hanging on. How long is it? When are they going to score?
Watching the game, I'm personally sitting there thinking, we're just waiting for Derby County to score. As a player, when you're on that pitch. Are you half thinking that as well? Thinking this is just not going to happen? Still, is it part of your makeup that you always believe?
No, you're thinking. Hold on, let's just take this to penalties. We'll get to the full time. We'll go extra time, and then it's like and then you're thinking, well, we might get a corner. We can nick one from a corner, and that's sort of the setup when you're at 10 when you're playing with 10 men. I was sitting next to. My brothers, and we just literally said a shot on goal would be nice just to get the crowd going.
Yeah, but you're saying that
And then Joey Barton had a shot and it went like 20 yards wide. And everyone, we've done something.
But you said you try and go for penalties, but you're going to that added 30 minutes. There's 10 of you. You're going to get very tired.
You're never thinking they're going to score soon.
No, I think that tweet there sums up your views at the end. That was the best end to a game of football I've ever seen. Come on, you R's.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's clear what you did afterwards.
Yeah. It was in the pub. Yeah, we all met up in the pub in Acton after, and I had a good night. Yeah. When we came down to the ground after, I can't remember that bit.
And you were told you came to
the follow on the bros buzzing at Wembley, and I think there's a picture there of Steve and Joe.
Yeah, I took that. There's one of me in another one, but I didn't bother putting it up.
Yeah, it must have been a special occasion for the 3 of you to see that game.
Well, yeah, I was. All of us together, and my parents. My dad's been a season ticket for 40 odd, so he we sort of said it was my daughter's communion that day, and I had to rush at 11 o'clock, and she didn't have a party. She had to come to the game, but she enjoyed it, obviously for obvious reasons. Glad we won because it would have been a bad day. It would have been a bad day. So she had her cake and all that the day after. But it was great to to bring my 2 daughters as well. I couldn't bring my little boy, he's a bit too young for that. But to see what sort of, I was like, look, this is Wembley, look how many fans have we got. Because where we live, I live in St Albans, and they're the only QPR fans in
Have they been? They haven't been to a game before, have
they?
They
went to the Leicester game at home, and I think the highlight for them was the squirrel on the pitch for 10 minutes. So, Yeah, so just to show, like, look how many fans we've got. This is QPR. We've got 45.
And you're one of the few people who can say Daddy played it.
Yeah. So it was one of those.
I say it, but I'm lying. But they're too young to know.
So I played there before. I played at the new and the old, which is great. And because where they go to school in St Albans, it's all Arsenal, Chelsea, and they're the only ones. And to be fair, they've always like, we support QPR. So just to show them that, look, we've got all this. Look how we're good as well.
Honest,
so it's good for them.
Of course it is, but hopefully they don't realise. They think that every game is like, oh, Wembley.
Where we go to Wembley again? It might take a while.
And just going back to the playoff semi-final, obviously you were out on the pitch before kick-off as well.
Yes.
The atmosphere that day was incredible.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. You know, the way it sort of panned out, they went 1-0 up. And you're like thinking, oh, it's not going to be. But then, as soon as they scored, we were excellent. We really were good. And what I did say was I was so impressed with was Nico Cranshaw and Joey Barton in the centre midfield controlled the second half of that game. Nico was playing in the hole when he came back. Bobby Zamora came on and held the ball up well.
How would you feel taking that penalty?
Well, that's obviously big pressure, massive pressure penalty because.
It meant so much. The rewards were.
Yeah, and
there's that 15 minutes to go with 1-0 down.
That's a Charlie Austin. That's what he's good at. Ball coming in the box and him arriving and anticipating, taking a gamble, getting across the defender. Because that easy when he takes that gamble across the defender, that ball could easily go over his head. But it doesn't matter because if you get it just once, if you make them runs 10 times and you get it right once. You score the winner and you go to Wembley. You go at Wembley.
Yeah.
So as a striker, you've got to keep gambling, getting across your defender, keep gambling. It might one game might not happen, might even 2 games, but then it will happen if you keep gambling. So you never give up.
Were you more nervous playing against Oldham in the playoff or watching QPR in the playoff?
Oh no, playing because because you know
it's on you.
Yeah, it's on you, and that has a big effect on your actual life and your career because you're thinking like, you know, we get promoted, we don't get up, you know, new manager might come in, he might not fancy you, you're out.
So if your family up north somewhere.
Yeah, so that's a whole loads of things, obviously, and you're desperate to get promoted, and you're desperate to get to the final, you're desperate to play at Cardiff, and there's a lot of pressure, and you don't want to let anyone down. Watching the game, I'm just excited to, you know, we're just buzzing. Yeah, we're going to Wembley. This is brilliant, but it's completely different because what happens to me has no sort of effect on my life, on my career. So playing is everything comes into it.
From an atmosphere night, though, the Wigan night was on par with the Oldham. Although the Oldham one is the one we always look back at because that was such an out of the blue situation that you never expected. And I think Wigan. And these big games, the fans look back at what it was like at Oldham and want to try and reenact it. And I think that night was one of those nights. It was just an amazing, emotional evening.
Yeah, I mean, both were.
Both were
special nights. And night games at QPR are always very good, the atmosphere. I always enjoyed playing, probably more at night, floodlights, you know, the atmosphere.
Yeah.
I really like it. No. Don't pay the bill.
Just a word on at Wembley. There were a lot of former QPR players at the game. Obviously yourself, Lee Cook, Martin Rowlands, Tony Hazel, Bob Hazel, Stan Bowles, Mark Lazarus, Ian Gillard. There was Wayne Faraday. There was a whole host of former players.
I see Cookie there.
Lee Cook. There was also the families of Alan McDonald, Alex Stock were there as well. I mean, it's great, but it's important as well, isn't it?
Well, look, there isn't just the future. Obviously, that's important for everyone. But there's always people from the past. Yeah. And when I was growing up, those legends also was like Jerry Francis and Stan Bowles was all I ever heard from my dad and from people who. Then I started going, and I was watching in the 80s, and I had Terry Fenwick, Clive Allen, Simon Stainrod. You know, those sort of Gary Wardle, those sort of players. And then when I get a little bit older, then Ray Wilkins came, and then I finally got to train with them, and it's like, I'm now playing and working with my heroes. So it's very important that these people, you know, they play a part in putting QPR on the map.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over the years. Not just the last few years. This club's been going on for
a long time.
Long, 1888.
Or 82.
Sorry.
Do you want to go down that road?
I was going to go. Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
And we had a few tweets in with questions that were sent in for you, and Huddersfield got brought up. It seemed quite a bit. Firstly, with the suggestion that you had a penalty. Obviously, you'd already scored at this point, but the suggestion was that. Well, we'll go on to that one in a minute. Firstly, Emma Wardle, Huddersfield v QPR. QPR were relegated. What emotions did you go through that day being on the Huddersfield side? You were actually on the bench. You were an unused sub.
Delighted I was for that.
And that day, Huddersfield scored in injury time to relegate QPR, and you're sat in the visiting dugout. That must have been a very bizarre situation.
Well, I just remember being on the bench and thinking, I don't want to come on here. I didn't want to come on because I knew if QPR lost, they were going to get relegated. So I didn't want to come on, and luckily I didn't, because if I did come on, I remember Delroy Facey scored, and I would have probably came on for him, and it would have been me in that situation. It'd be like, oh my God. So I don't even want to think about that. But so I remember not going for a warm up ever. I didn't bother him warming up, and Lou Macari was the manager, and I just didn't even I just sat there.
Avoid eye contact.
I just had sat there and just thought, I'm not warming up. Usually usually if I was sub, I'd be warming up all the time, trying to get on. And
you just wanted to keep
I just was sat behind him, just watching the game. So it was. I remember seeing Ian Holloway on the outside, and he was pretty much there's tears in his eyes, and it was a bad day for QPR. I was gutted, obviously for obvious reasons, and I remember I got the train home with my cousin came over from America. He was watching it, came up with my brother, and we got the train home with loads of QPR fans from like Wakefield down to King's Cross, and I just sat with them, had a drink, and obviously it wasn't a great day for being a QPR fan. That was that was like a very sort of those days was very negative for QPR, as in administration, wages, and Jerry had left in, tried to come in and turn the tide, but couldn't.
Well, I mean, Jerry left, leaving Ian in a situation we were already doomed, weren't we?
Yeah, pretty much. And I think he'd made a good fist of it trying to, but he just once you're in that slippery slope, it's hard to get out of it. And the only way you get out of it is by bringing players in. And if you've got no money, you can't bring anyone in and getting the old ones out. So.
Yeah, difficult situation. And from Matty, when playing for Huddersfield, Kev missed a penalty in front of the loft. Was this on purpose? Although I think you'd already scored at that point.
Oh, yeah, scored. I remember I scored up there, and I remember
bang up to the bookies.
Bookies would everyone said they had a bet on me scoring, but I took the penalty because I don't think we had a penalty that year, Huddersfield, and it was like, well, I'm the centre forward, I'll take it. I didn't try to miss, but Ludo guessed me right and made a great save. I got the biggest cheer of the day, didn't I? So it worked out all right. So I remember.
But everyone knew you were going to score. Yeah. Everyone knew you would score at least one.
Yeah, so I remember it, just behind me. And Ludo, don't know if it was a great penalty, but he saved it. Not a good penalty if you don't score. So he made a decent save, and the crowd went absolute bananas. And I went, oh, bloody hell, here we go.
Singing your name.
Yeah, singing my name. So I got a good round of applause when I walked off, which was good.
What was it like actually coming back, as a player coming back, especially here where you were idolised and you were loved?
It was very, going into the away dressing room, and it was the first thing when I looked on the team sheet when we were playing QPR, and I remember the week before I'd come off at half time with a problem with my hamstring, and I'm thinking, I'm going to miss this game, and that's all I was thinking.
It's coming back.
I think it was nerves, whatever. So it was a weird situation, and seeing all my mates really and playing against my mates. So it's a weird, and I didn't.
So what do you think's going through Rio's mind now? Because he's going back to Old Trafford on Sunday.
Massively, he'll be thinking, this is strange. I'm been there so long.
Extra motivation to play well.
Definitely, yeah. Because people say oh, did you try to miss that? You're playing for getting paid by. You're a Brentford fan, was. You'd love QPR now. You'd rather see QPR being Brentford
now tonight, aren't they?
Do you know what I mean? Sorry about that. Didn't anyone know that?
He didn't even know.
No, sorry, mate. The cat is out of the bag. So look, you work for. You know what I mean? Your loyalties are for who you work for.
Absolutely.
I know that one very well.
Yeah, on that note.
Top man.
Just a mental note, don't invite Kev back. Emmet O'Doherty, realistic thoughts on how QPR will cope this year? Could have just 3 strikers, could be difficult.
Well, look, when you play one up front, which we did the last game, then got two spare. So there's going to be injuries. Charlie Austin was injured for the top. Yeah, already for the top. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be suspensions. There's going to be loss of form, and you've got to mix it up sometimes. Sometimes you play. I could play against a centre half, couldn't get any change out of him. Then you might play another player loves playing against that centre half. So everyone, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like boxers, I can beat him, but he can't beat him. So it's like that. So loss of form, 3 strikers. I thought that maybe we're going to bring in another one, and there was a lot of rumours about bringing another striker, but I say that will be revisited in January. But we keep the 3 strikers as fit until January, and then maybe go again and see what's available out there. But yeah, I think that there'll be. I wouldn't be surprised by the end of the season that we'll have another striker in. Okay,
Glenn Hoddle's been brought onto the coaching staff as well. It's quite an interesting approach, and Harry's done that throughout his time at QPR, bringing in an extra coach. It's a new pair of eyes, but also it's a new voice. What's your view on that as a player, to have, I suppose, that extra voice coming in?
I suppose it's that never. I can't recall that ever happening when I was playing. Under Jerry, Frank Sibley was there, and Roger Cross. Under Ian Holloway was Kenny Jackett, Tim Breaker, then Kenny left, Gary Penrose. So there's always 2. So bringing someone in, a different voice or a different, way of training, I can't see how it's not it's not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, and obviously the calibre of Glenn Hoddle as an England manager, vast experience. I think it can only help.
Okay, and I suppose, Brian, from your point of view, you were showing a big advocate of it as well.
No, absolutely. I mean, as I say, if you think back to last season when we had Steve McClaren in, and you had Joe, and you got Kevin, it worked well. And I think bringing in someone like Glenn, there's a lot of respect for him. He was a great player, and obviously he's got the eye. He can see what it's all about. And I watch him when he's sitting up near us at the games. He's watching each and every move, and I think we will see it hopefully reflect on the pitch. And I think we possibly did see something against Sunderland.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to that, everyone sees the game differently. You'll see something in the game where I would see,
the right thing.
Yeah, well, maybe.
No,
but as being a striker, I'd be looking at the centre forwards, and Glenn we might be looking at the midfield. Joe Jordan will give some tips to the strikers and so on and stuff like that. So the more people, offering help to the players, I think it's great.
And in terms of preparation for Sunday's game against Man United, I suppose that's quite difficult because no one really knows what Man United are going to do in terms of formation and personnel.
No, that's true. They've got so many players, haven't they? So it's going to be difficult, but it seems to me that Van Gaal's going to go with this 3-5-2 system. I think he's not one of these coaches. I think he would be quite stubborn. I'm going, whatever, this is what I've said I'm going to do, and now he's going to do it. He's not. I don't think he'll be flexible. I might be wrong, but I think he'll still stay with that tactic of 3-5-2. So QPR will prepare now in the next few days of playing against that. And when I come back to what I said about how different pairs of eyes, Joe Jordan will be now telling Charlie Austin, you should be to combat 3 at the back. You've got to be making these sort of runs. Or Glenn will be saying midfield, you don't want to get overrun. You've got to be narrow, and just the more people giving tips.
And they've all seen the game slightly differently.
Everyone will say you've got to watch him. He comes in on his left. Just there's all little things. So we will watch it a little bit different. At the end of the day, we spoke about it before. About if a ball's come in the box and you don't head the ball out, tactics go out the window. Yeah. So it's all sometimes about the players, and if they're mentally right for the game and they're fit and they've got the right attitude, then that can go a long way.
Just a word on Ali Fowlin, who suffered terribly his 3rd ACL in 3 years. Obviously, you had an ACL injury during your career. Very difficult to come back from it. It's a big challenge for Ali, but obviously he knows the road he needs to take. Yes,
there's one thing. I know there's not fortunately, but he actually knows the rehab now. He knows what he has to do. Like, and if he made any mistakes in the last one, he knows I can't do that one again. You know, I wish him all the best. I hope he gets the best surgeon he possibly can, and gets it right. And hey, he's 28. Is
28.
He? So look, you know, don't come back too quick. Just make sure that is 100%, 110%. That takes a year. Take a year. Because then he's got 3 or 4 years left playing. Because you can't quit at 28.
I remember you saying that when you came back, you probably came back a little bit too soon because you were so eager to come back. I don't think you could even bend your leg properly.
No, I couldn't bend my leg or straighten. But you're so desperate because you miss trainers. You know, there's nothing worse than going in the training ground and you're there and you're on the bike and all the lads are out there having a great laugh and you're just so envious and jealous. Look at them having a great laugh. And then you come on the Saturday and you see the crowd and you just want to be part of it and you rush back. I'm not saying he rushed back, but I did. I wanted to, so desperate to get back and playing again and sort of prove to people, look, I'm fit, I'm all right. So, you know, sometimes it takes maybe someone, you know, who's been there before and say, oh.
But the treatment's a little different nowadays, isn't
it?
A
lot better. It's a lot better, yeah. And saying that, you know, I've never had a problem with my knee ever since.
Yeah.
So, you know, it worked out all right for me in the end. But it took me a long time to get back proper fit.
Okay, well, we wish Ali Fallon all the best with his recovery. We're almost out of time, incredibly. We've just got the details of the competition winner. So the question to Kevin Gallen was this. What we wanted to know from QPR fans on Twitter: who does Kevin Gallen believe was the most underrated QPR player during his time at Loftus Road? Tweet is using hashtag LCI. And in terms of him being underrated, that ruled out the likes of David Bardsley, who, as you said, went on to play for England and was hugely rated by players and supporters. So the answer, who does Kevin Gallen believe was the most underrated player he played with at Loftus Road? What's your answer, Kev?
Well, there was a few in my mind, and Ian Holloway was one, but he was sort of rated by the fans as well for what he'd done. But I'm going to go for Matty Rose, because I didn't think he had a great sort of relationship with the fans, as in, you know, did they rate him? But
and he was very unfortunate with injuries.
He got injured a lot, which that's, you know, that's nothing to do. You know, that's just, you know, he fell over. What did he do?
When he had his dislocated.
What did he do? He dislocated his arm or something.
Dislocated his shoulder. It was a reoccurrence. So
he told us he was in the hospital. He had to hold him away, and they'd done his ankle and his arm at the same time. And he told us, no, I'm not even going to bother. Like, it was hilarious. He said he couldn't do anything. He was just lying there, which shouldn't be talking about. So Matty Rose, one. I'll tell you why. He could play right back, centre back, left back. He played midfield. So he was rated within that. He could cover a number of positions, and he done well. And especially, you know, he was a natural defender. And when Ian Holloway, when we were in League One, he played really well. And I remember that Sheffield Wednesday game. You know, he went to 2-1, and they were putting the ball in the box, and Matty Rose was putting some good blocks in, which could have ended up in 2-2, and then, you know, everything could have been a lot different. So Matty Rose, good pro, could play a number of positions, and that's why I'm not going for David Bardsley and people like that, because they were rated by everyone.
Okay, so the correct answer is Matt Rose and Ralph Decker. That's at Orange Ralph. Many congratulations to you. You correctly identified Matt Rose as the most underrated player in Kevin's opinion that he played with here at Loftus Road. Get in touch with that Adam Holm 86, and we will organise for this very shirt, which Kevin Gallen will be signing shortly, to be sent out to you. So congratulations to you, Ralph. My thanks to Brian, and a huge thanks to Kevin for joining us. Much appreciated, Kevin. You've been watching London Calling, brought to you in association with Equate. We'll be back next week reflecting on that game at Old Trafford and looking ahead to the minor matter of Stoke City here at Loftus Road. Thanks for watching.